New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls.
It's more than practical.
Here come the girls.
Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Dr. Natasha is on the other side of the screen.
That is my name. Yes. Welcome from Australia.
And welcome from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it is very hot.
We are having opposite experiences right now. It is so cold and windy here that I literally just don't want to leave my house. I'm starting to worry about being agoraphobic.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, I get so excited when there's wind here. I'm like, oh, a breeze.
A breeze.
But it's nice. I mean, today's actually a little cloudy, so it's covering up the sun a lot of the time and makes it a little cooler.
Yeah, but it's a dry heat there too, right? It's not like humid,
no.
like where I'm from in New Orleans, because like New Orleans, man.
No, this is some desert heat, girl.
I like, I was gonna say I like desert heat, but I did live in Albuquerque for a little while, and when I did, I used to have the best hair.
I was going to say, it's the best for curly girls' hair. I was going to say, that is true. No humidity. There's no, like when you go out other places with humidity, it's like you start out straight and you end up curly.
With an afro by the end of the night. Yes. No, it was great. I rocked my hair pressed like the whole time, or whenever I was in New Mexico, but the whole time I lived there, it was great for my hair.
Well, there you have it. If you are living for your hair and it needs to stay straight, Albuquerque's the place.
Yes.
So just so you know, we are not live today. I just want you to know, but we still encourage you to put comments in the chat to let us know where you're checking in from. Let us know what you're thinking. We are actually taping. We are pre-taping this 4th of July week, and we won't be here on Thursday, but our show will be. So, let us know you were here.
Yes.
And do all the usual things like liking us on social media and, keeping that algorithm up. Because that's the world we live in.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Because that's where I've been told, so folks on my side of the world, when they watch it, they have a tendency to look at it on YouTube. So, yeah. So also, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like. That's the thing I heard. I heard that's the thing that gets your algorithms pumping.
That's our ask. So, if you're new or if you're not, this is what we like to do. We like to talk a little bit about our week, and we like to involve a card pull, the card pull of the week.
Yeah.
Because that's just the kind of girls we are. We like to read the signs, see what Spirit's trying to show us, what's coming into our life. So today, Natasha has chosen the medicine cards for me to pull from, which is a deck of spiritual, of basically of animals, and it's based on Native American culture. and their symbolism for what the animals mean when they come into your life. So
Yes. And
she
I'm a
said,
little under the weather, so I thought medicine cards would be perfect.
yes, and it comes from, say, like they believe, bringing animal medicine into your life is healing and teaching and educational and all those things. So we're pulling a card this week to see what animal wants to inform us.
It is Macy. I'm telling you, I was about to call you Macy. I better check on my child after this. That's why I just called you Macy. Anyways, I was going to say it is. I remember when I first moved to Australia, I had so much spider medicine. And the lessons I've learned since I've embraced spider medicine has been amazing. Like, I'm not even afraid of them anymore. And they're gigantic here.
Right. They are gigantic there. And spider medicine, for those of you who don't know, is creativity.
Yeah. I have a big one that lives in my shower every spring, and we just get right on. I'm like, she stays there in the corner and does her thing. I have my shower, top of the morning.
I know, like I'm really bad at killing anything. I just don't. We had an infestation of ants this week. And ants are patients. Go figure. But it's really hard for me. I mean, I'm like, oh, can't you guys just go outside? Really, this is your last ultimatum. If you don't, my husband's going to come in here, and he's like one step better at killing them than me because he doesn't do the bug spray. He does like Windex. So,
yeah.
So they kind of like, if they can make it past it, they have a chance. So, if you want to be an ant, our house is probably the place to be. But anyway.
All right. So tell me when you start shuffling.
I've been shuffling. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Go on and stop.
Stop?
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel. Squirrel is the animal. Let's see.
Squirrel.
Usually, there's no bad animal. Even like when you get snake or something that you'd go, like spiders.
Snakes are sacred over here in Australia. Their creator goddess is the rainbow serpent.
So squirrel is about gathering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Squirrel teaches you to plan ahead for the winter when the trees are bare and the nuts have long since disappeared. Squirrel medicine can come in many forms, as this furry creature is very diverse in nature. I'm going to try to skip down. Let's see. The gathering power of squirrel medicine is a great gift. It teaches you how to gather and store your energy for times of need. It teaches you to reserve something for future use, whether it be a judgment, an opinion, a savings account, candles, or extra food. To put it in a nutshell, squirrel is the Boy Scout of the animal kingdom, always prepared.
Is that it?
No, there's 2 pages. I'm just trying to see. Let's see. Squirrel has another lesson which can aid you. If you observe what is obvious and which can prepare you for anything. It has to do with the safe place in which to put your gatherings. This safe place is an untroubled heart and mind, which is gathered to put in this place is wisdom and caring. The energies gathered will set your mind and heart free so that you will know that all will be taken care of in its own time. Apply this to your fears about the future and they will vanish. Well,
I love.
What do you love?
I said I love that. I love that the last piece of the reading, like the squirrel medicine being about how to move through the world with an untroubled heart and an untroubled mind. I really love that part.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with a lot with what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think it does. You know, the interesting thing I want to say about squirrels is that we don't have any in Australia. Australia doesn't have squirrels.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like a world without squirrels.
There's no squirrels down here.
That's
We have a
kind of
ton
weird.
of, yeah, we have all kinds of marsupials, but we don't have squirrels.
Well, I think for me, one of the things that comes up on this 4th of July week is, you know, when it's said about your judgment, your fears, your all of that. I was saying today on our other show that, yeah, I'm having a challenging time in some ways with the, you know, I mean, I always have had a little challenging time with the 4th of July and rah rah America, but at the end of the day, you know, I think I felt more, um, for lack of a better word right now, I'm going to say more proud to be an American. Whereas right
Mm.
now, that's not, I don't feel that, you know,
Mm.
or, yeah, I don't know that pride is the word, but I mean, really just, a different sense of it. So I'm experiencing a
Mm.
lot of like, not I don't want to say loss, but there is a loss. There is a grieving on some level of for all that's happening in the world. I mean, just the energetic. Take America out of the equation. Just well, you hardly
Mm.
can, but just all the wars and all the fighting and all that's going on. You know.
Mm. 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 No, I hear you. I hear you. It does feel very somber. Not, and I can honestly say I don't think I've ever celebrated the 4th of July. Although my mom's birthday is the day after the 4th of July, and my daughter's birthday is the day before, so it's still like a celebratory time in my life. But I
Uh-huh.
remember when we were on that call with Marianne Williamson, however long ago that was, and I was talking about how, you know, in my own life, I've looked at all the ways I've tried to uphold the social contract and all the ways that the U.S. has not upheld that for people like me, for women, for brown and black people. And so I don't think I've ever felt that rah-rah sense of like patriotism. What I have felt is that there was a promise in America, that I was hopeful
Mhm.
that we could continue to work towards and try to live into.
Yeah.
That's where I had like a hopefulness, I guess. And I'm not gonna say like I don't still have that hopefulness. I feel like we are really just at this place, and it's interesting I'm saying we, even though like I'm thinking of like getting rid of my US citizenship, like relinquishing it and just being a citizen here. So it's just interesting that I still feel a sense of we though. That'll be interesting to explore. But I think that we are looking at, this is what happens when collectively we move from fear instead of love, which is what we're going to talk about today. So I
Yeah.
think we're seeing the collective ramifications of that. You know, I remember in my doctoral thesis, I had interviewed this minister in Boston. And I remember he said that the emotional signature of the US is denial. And if we know anything about denial, denial is, you know, born out of fear. You
Right.
know, it's born out of fear. It's an inability to face something. And James Baldwin said, famously, like, we can't heal what we won't face.
Right.
And here we are. So
right.
here
I
we are.
think you really hit on is something that resonates for me in that, I mean, I think hopeful. I think hopeful is really more of what I felt. I mean, exactly. I've never been rah, rah, get the flag out and, and I believe that, what I was taught in school or shown in school or learned in school was somewhat of a balance of both good and bad, but there was that balance that, people, that we could call things that happened a mistake, that we could say that wasn't right, that we could look at it, and it seemed as if we were or are, repairing some of that. And it doesn't so much feel like that right now. It feels like, that even the basic, a basic principle of like kindness and equity, and that those are out the window. And that to me is, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad.
Yeah,
So
I hear you.
but there's a lot of changes, and there's in our new thought philosophy and way, there's a space in which we have to allow for the whatever needs to be purged to be purged, and hopefully we are moving into something new, something different.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're in late stage capitalism. There's nowhere to go from here besides implosion. So like my hope is that those of us who can stand, like really do the work to figure out what it looks like in our everyday interpersonal interactions to choose from love. My hope is that as we do that work and we take it very serious in our everyday interactions, that as this thing implodes, which, lots of people, that's what they said, the nature of like this kind of capitalism, that's what happens. It eventually it implodes because it just eats its own self. I hope that we are ready to birth something beautiful. And I think that's where we need to be putting our focus on what kind of world do we want to live in?
Yeah.
What kind of world? I don't think the world, my work, I don't feel like is to stop this train from going where it's going or to stop this system from imploding. I mean, this late stage capitalism, it was born of slavery, and it's kind of trying to return us back to that. So my job is not to sort of stop that implosion. My job is to really center myself into what does it look like to build a world where I choose love and I inspire other people to make that same choice, and we really live from it, even when it's hard. So that's where I am with it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, I think that is a definite goal and beautiful. And, it's going to take getting past the fear for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so
and getting clear about what we're afraid of. Because you can't move through it if you don't know what it is, and so that's what I'm hopeful we're gonna talk more about in our discussion today.
Well, that's what we'll do. We'll talk more in our discussion about that today. So if you're joining us right now, go and get yourself your favorite beverage, whether that's a afternoon cocktail or a morning smoothie or whatever it is. Get it, bring it back. You don't want to miss choosing love over fear. And we will go right into that when we come back from our break, right here on New Thought Media Network. See you in a minute.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls.
It's more than practical.
Here come the girls.
Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
We're back. Thank you for coming back with us. We are here on New Thought Media Network. We are Girls Behaving Metaphysically. I am Robyn Olmsted.
And I'm Dr. Natasha Wilson, coming to you from the beautiful, chilly today state of Queensland in Australia.
And I'm here in the good old US of A. This beautiful 4th of July week where the sun is shining very brightly.
Yes. It's also Canada Day.
Today?
Yeah. July
Well,
1st.
sending love out to Canada. We have a good listener from Canada. We have a few, but, you know, Wayne is one of our all-time favorites. So happy Canada Day, Wayne.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our topic today is choosing love over fear.
Yes.
You want to talk more about that? Why
Well-
and why it spoke to you?
Yeah, well, it's one of the things that I work with my clients on quite regularly. And one of the things that I also do, because the way that I'm sort of oriented as a therapist is sort of based in a narrative therapy approach, which means that we look at the relationship between what we experience as a collective and what we experience as individuals, and how do we as individuals make shifts in the collective, right? Because often I think, especially times like now, we think about how do we make these changes to the collective. However, we can't really make a shift. The collective is an outpicturing of what is going on inside of all of us on some level internally. And so we really want to change what we see in the world, we have to be willing to look at where that stuff lives within us, and then be willing to not just confront it, but to find a way to like integrate it, and then hopefully in some cases transmute it, in other ways transform it, and heal through it, but by facing it, by looking at it. Yeah. And before we went to the break, I was sharing how, this minister that I'd interviewed in Boston for my research, he had said that that the emotional signature of the West was denial, and that, if we think about that, denial is really about fear. Underneath it is fear. The reason we won't confront a thing, or we're afraid to look at a thing, is because there's fear there. And so how do we become aware of the fears that we fear? And then how do we, one, become aware of it without shaming ourselves? And then how do we move into love? How do we transmute fear into love? Or how do we choose love over fear?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I think about that, I think about so much of what we do is based in fear. And fear sounds like a big word to me. Fear sounds like, it's not like, oh, I'm afraid to do this, but there is that level. It's like a pre-level to serious fear, or I don't know, maybe you have some therapeutic way to say it, but but there's that, well, should I do it? What if I don't do it right? What if I don't, what if so-and-so doesn't like the way I do it? What if so-and-so could do it better? What if I'm too old? What if I'm too tired? What if I'm too, we get into that place where, I scare myself all the time, with my self-talk. You know what I mean? If I'm listening, there's a level at which I can talk myself out of anything. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just think fear comes in all different disguises.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so how do we really tune in to know how to work with it?
Yeah. So I think what you said is exactly right. Like, it comes in many disguises in different forms, right? Fear can show up as, I don't know, well, for me, I know, fear is present in my life when I'm experiencing sorry, something just popped on my screen. When I'm feeling anxiety in my body. So anxiety is the primary way I know that fear is happening for me. And so what I know about anxiety is that anxiety is like my awareness is off into the future, but it's not just off into the future. It's off into the future with a catastrophe, or it's off into the future with I don't know, the worst thing ever. That's how I know. Right. So that's the main form of fear that I live and deal with on a daily basis. And so for me, that's how I know, because I become present to the feelings of anxiety. So for other people, it might show up another way. But knowing when it's present and how it presents is the first step to knowing how to care for it, is what I say. I like the thought of caring for my fear as a way to integrate and transmute it. But we have to be aware. So how do you know? So for me, I said it was I know because anxiety is present. That's how I know I have fear happening. What about you?
It's a great question. I I'm not sure. I don't think I get anxiety about it. I mean, I think fear, probably what happens for me is more of a procrastination,
Mm.
like I can just talk myself out of it. I don't, there is I used to love uh Reverend Michael Beckwith's acronym of fear, which is forget everything and run. It's not really forget, it's the four-letter F word. But and everything and run, which I think is that feeling you get in that moment, that
Yeah.
flight. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't, I don't know that I ever did, because I've always been so contrary. Like if I thought I couldn't do something inside of me, if somebody else said that to me, I'd be like, what do you mean? I could do that if I want to. And I do it just to prove it. So I'm trying to think, but then I'm thinking about things that like I say I want to do and that I'm
Uh-huh.
passionate about, and like, why aren't I doing them? And especially like I've had opportunities where, somebody has come to me and gone, well, I really want you to do my audiobook. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay, yeah. And for whatever reason, I just don't do it. Like, so I'm
Mm.
thinking, are you scared, Robyn? Well, I
Mm.
clearly something's going on, but you know what I mean? So I don't know that it really manifests as like anxiety, because but I do think what happens to people like me is that
Mm.
when they don't have anxiety or something like that, it
Mm.
manifests in their body somewhere else.
Yeah.
So people get sick, or people get, pain and aches and, different things going on.
Mm.
So I'm processing. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, it's very clear. It is like anxiety. And and one of the things that I realized in retrospect is that it's been anxiety since I was a child. Like that has been how fear has mostly showed up for me. My parents, they told, whenever, like, I don't know, whenever we're together as a family, which isn't a lot um in the last couple years, but when we would all get together, my parents and even my brother, they would tell these stories about me. And they were just like, like, I don't, for like just running jokes, and I guess every family has like, oh, such and such was like this when they were young. And, some people think it's like really funny. And I, used to get in on the laughs about how I was as a child, right? There's this running joke that, like, my cousins and everybody, they'd all be outside playing, and my parents would go looking for me and come find me. And it's because I'm sitting in the closet with a book, with a flashlight and a book reading, right? Because I wasn't outside. And so that was, like Natasha's like weird and a nerd and all that stuff. But what I came to know, I am weird and a nerd. But what I did come to know is that it's because I was highly anxious as a child. I was a really anxious child. And that was how I was attempting to sort of deal with my anxiety, by getting into a small place and feeling safe. And it's funny thinking about that acronym that Dr. Michael Beckwith used, forget everything and run, because, fear can elicit multiple responses, and run is just but one, right?
Right.
There's freeze, there's fawn, uh, there's fight. And yeah, I think in me, fear really does manifest as freeze. I have to work up to fear being fight. And it just depends on the type of fear, right? Like, I think the kind of fears that most of us deal with on a day-to-day basis, which are just our psychological fears about our capabilities, if we're good enough, if we're enough, or whatever, those kinds of fears they definitely manifest in me and freeze. Like literally, because it is so cold outside, it made me anxious.
Wow.
And then what do? I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like in my house. At the beginning, I was like, I better get outside because I'm scared. I'm becoming agoraphobic. Like I literally freeze. So I think that's the first thing, is to get a sense of like how your fear looks. What does your fear look like, you know?
Yeah. Because I know, like I would say for my husband, for my partner, that what happens for him is he kind of melts down. He goes into depression, and it's just that place where you can't. He's incapable of doing something. You know, he can't make himself move. You know, I mean, it's much better these days, but you know, it's just that total like going away. And usually, it begins with something. You know, he'll create some situation where he can be mad at himself. You know, to take the thing off. And I was thinking when you were talking, I think for me, because I was thinking back to when I was a child, and I think, you know, I was the fixer. I was the safe space. So if something was going on that might have made me anxious, I would have been like, okay, well, don't have time for that. Everybody else is getting anxious, and you know you don't want that, so let's just take care of this. You know, so I think I'm always like just trying, you know, I remember thinking, I've said so many times, like, I don't know why people do drugs or drink alcohol. I mean, I know, but I don't know, because I'm like, you just have to fix it when you come back, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's always my thing, is like, let's just get it done, you know, except for with the audiobook. Just kidding. But I mean, it is interesting. It's interesting how we move and how we acknowledge that. And, you know, I think I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, you know, fear is a feeling, right?
You know how this thing cuts out, so you just cut out. So sorry, I don't know what you said just now.
I said I was thinking, would you agree that fear is a feeling?
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's an emotion. It's a feeling.
Yeah,
Whereas
for sure.
love is not a feeling, really.
What's not a feeling?
Love.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think love is a choice, you know,
Yeah.
that we,
Yeah.
you know, and so I think when we ask the question, choosing love over fear, or how do you choose love over fear? I mean, I think there is a level at which right now, right here on this show and in the world, you can train yourself, you can learn to be able to discern and to make new choices.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm assuming that's, you know, what you're teaching as a therapist, as well as allowing people to learn really about where they're coming from and what they're choosing, and are those the choices they want to make, right?
Yeah. So when you were asking, you know, that if fear is a feeling, but love is not, you know, I like love has a feeling tone,
Yeah.
but it's not itself a feeling. And
Right.
the connection for me is the connection to thinking, right? So when my thinking is off into the future with a catastrophe, that's the anxiety, right? So like the feeling is generated by the thinking. Yeah. And so one of the ways, you know, sometimes I always say it's easier to catch a feeling than a thought, because thought moves so fast, but feelings have a tendency to linger. So, and feelings, like they linger in the body. So like, just in the sense of talking about like how we begin the movement away from, or the movement through fear, right? So for me, I usually catch it in my body, because the thinking, the thinking is like down the road. the thinking is off in 2035. The thinking is gone, right? So
Right.
like, but what's lingering is that stone that I feel in the pit of my belly when the fear is active or the anxiety is active. That lingers. So I could usually catch that. And it's usually that. So I go to that first, right? I feel that feeling the way that it feels in the belly for me, and other people feel in other places, their chest, their head, their shoulders. And then I go, oh, okay, I'm thinking something that is not in alignment with the purpose of my soul. I'm thinking something that is not in alignment. That's my sort of come home mantra to myself. I'm thinking something that is not in alignment, or if I'm moving really fast, if I'm doing stuff super fast, I'm moving from fear as well. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm thinking something that is not in alignment with my soul. And then I just stop and I just have a moment and try to see if I can figure out what it is. Sometimes I can figure out what it is, sometimes I can't. And so all I do in that moment is like, I'm like, okay, what do I do to make a choice from love? And in that moment, the love is just like, how do I take care of this feeling in my belly? That's the love, right? So the loving choice is to pause, for me, touch it, touch my heart, and to literally start moving, speaking, and breathing slowly. That's the loving choice that I can make in those moments. So I think that's the other thing. Making the choice for love doesn't have to be some big overture. It can be something really small, like pausing, making a cup of warm tea, slowing down, breathing slower, feeling the earth under your feet.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways to make a choice of love that's not a big overture, or it doesn't have to be.
Right. And it's finding the one that works best for you. I mean, yeah, I think, just taking a breath and coming back to center. And I think it's always such a great question when you notice that fear or that really any emotion that's going on, when you notice that, to ask, what would love do? What would love look like here? And whether it's fear or sorrow or loss or whatever is going on, which leads to that fear in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing to remember, and it's a challenging thing to remember. I think it's a practice to get used to. Well, it's a practice to get used to feeling, period. To
Yeah.
get used to acknowledging what's going on as opposed to everything being good or bad, to really go, oh, wait, this isn't necessarily bad. This is right now I'm feeling sad or lonely or, I'm experiencing this or that. And that scares me or, whatever, to really be able to acknowledge what is going on and to break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to really use love almost like, like the healing medicine, like you have this wound and now you're going to put the love on
That's right.
and watch the transformation,
That's right. I think that's so spot on. And it's really making me think of Dr. Martin Luther King, who really used to talk about love as a practice. Love is a verb, right? Love is at the center of revolution. Like that is just it. I think making love a practice, just like I believe that peace is a practice, love is also a practice. Like love is more than a feeling, although it has a feeling tone. It's more than a feeling. The same thing with gratitude, like gratitude is a practice. These aren't just these just aren't they're not nouns, they're verbs. They're things to be practiced, you know? And I think the trick is not even the trick. I think is we get habituated to the practice of fear. We get habituated to it. And once we start to practice choosing love and to turn love into a verb, a practice, it starts to become a bit of muscle memory.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a really spot on for the times we're living in, because we are fed, our marketing of stuff is fed to us through fear. You know, oh, if I don't buy those shoes, I'm not gonna be fly. I'm not, you know, I mean, I know teenagers are their own specific thing, and that we've all had a teenage brain where certain things are important. But seriously, in my experience of teenagers right now, the amount of emphasis they're putting on things outside of themselves, as opposed to like their inner being and knowing who they are, you know. And that happens with adults too. I'm just citing teens because that's what I got. But you know, I mean, so I think it's a practice, because I think we've grown up with, you know, a culture that has told us, no, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too short, you're too tall. Oh, you could never do that because look at the people that are doing that. You don't look like them, or you could never be this, or, you know, what do you mean you're going to do that? You're a girl. What do you mean you're going to do that? You're a boy. You know, all of those things, you know, there's something about if you were on the other side of that or railing against that, that's a little scary, you know, to feel that you're out there on your own, like, oh, well, my passion is to become a basketball player, but I'm only, you know, 5'7". How could I ever do that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, that I agree. Like that kind of stuff is driven in the marketing. And again, to go back to where we started at the beginning, like we're in late stage capitalism. Like the goal of capitalism is to make sure that you never feel like you're enough. Because if you feel like you're enough, then you're not gonna buy a bunch of stuff, right?
Right.
But yeah. And you know, when I say also, and that's just it. So we think about how fear is through everything. And our egos want to be enough. Our egos want to our egos want to survive at all costs. And our egos, anything that seems to threaten the ego's annihilation, it's going to look at it through the lens of fear. And I mean, I'm like, yeah, I don't have the teenage brain anymore when it comes to like needing to have certain things to be like my peers. But you know, you can still see how that marketing shows up in other places, like just our media. I mean, granted, I'm not on social media anymore. I mean, I technically am, and that's only because, and I'm saying like Instagram won't give me my goddamn password. So I'm still have an Instagram account. But anyways, but just through regular media, it's just like, it's all fear-based. Everything is like, I don't know how anybody watches regular news, whatever that is, and is not ready to build a bunker underground right now. It's all so fear-based.
And okay, that's the media. I also think, you know, we grew up in a time with parents that grew up with parents that didn't have all the schools, skills and tools and, you know, thought process that parents have now. So yeah, you know, I mean, I know a lot of kids that grew up with parents that said no to everything, you know, or you're not doing this right. You know, no, you're going to be a doctor. No, you're going to do this. I mean, and everybody has a good intention, but that's what they knew, right? And now we have a different generation of somewhat, of not everybody obviously, but I mean, people trying and to be more conscious about their words and what they say and how they handle it to, not instill fear in their child.
Yeah.
But I think I think that's hard. I think that can be super challenging as a parent because you do get stuck on that damn no train.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to go, I said no. Do you not understand? No. And then they ask for something that you would usually give them, and it's like, no. So but it's a practice to take that breath and to remember that they're not holding on to what we hold on to. So I can still be mad because my teenager didn't get it, and he's way past it. Generally he's on something he wants, but it doesn't matter. He's still past the being mad,
Yeah.
So it's really trying to, how do we not instill fear,
Mm.
And that happens in relationships, spousal, marital, work relationships. How do you choose love when you don't love your job?
Yeah. 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 Look, I just wanted to go back to the thing you had said about no, because I feel like this year so far, I've been coming into a more revelatory relationship with the concept no. And when I say that, and I've been working with my oldest daughter about it with it too. But like sometimes no's are really good. It's like, and the reason I'm saying that is because the revelations that I've been having over like so far in this year with the word no is because whenever it seems like I've received like a no for something that I really, really wanted, or I thought I really, really wanted, it really was because I was meant to have a different experience that is more wonderful. I'm not like more revelatory. So I'm having a different experience with the concept of no. So like it's almost like I don't know. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe that's another thing we can at another time talk
We can
about how
explore
like
that, but I want to close this up with this because I think what you're saying is perfect. Is a perfect example. What you're doing when you have a conscious no, you're choosing love. When you're looking, that's the difference. You're coming from a place of love. I'm talking about when you get stuck on the train where you really should have gotten off a long time ago and just gone in your bedroom or walked out of the house or done whatever, and you just say no because you can and because you're the adult. That kind of no. You know what I mean? So I think if to leave the audience with that perspective, it's like it's not the no that's bad. It's where you're coming from. And that's what Dr. Natasha is saying is, how do we live into that place of choosing love? It is a choice. How do we make the choice to choose love in those moments where you want to take fight or flight and get out,
Yeah.
So go ahead.
One of the things that I would really love to leave the audience with, like as a practical tool and a practical skill around this question, is to start to notice how fear shows up in your life in the most subtle way. The most subtle way. Because it may not be like a grand fear, right? Like a bear's gonna run into your house or something, but like like the really subtle ways that fear shows up, and to just try to become present to that, like noticing if you feel it in your body, if you're behaving or for me, like I said, like I notice I move really fast, and that's how I know like the underlying programming is fear, because I'm moving really fast. Like just sort of see how it shows up in your life, and then see if you can make also a subtle shift to be like, how could I do this from love?
Yeah.
So still whatever it is I might be doing, right? Washing dishes, I don't know, whatever, like finishing up progress notes. How can I do this in a way, like if I'm going fast, how can I just introduce love into this practice right now?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I want to say in alignment with that, it doesn't have to be in the moment. You can journal about it. You can reflect on it. You can go over your day and look at those situations and go, where could I have done different? What could I have done differently? Where could I have infused love? How can I have more love in my day? And you know what I do know is that when you bring more love into your life that way, it will change. Things change, situations change, and amazing things happen.
The world changes.
The
Like
world changes.
seriously, the world changes when
It
we
does.
choose from love.
And speaking of that, I want to send love to our producer, Michael Mangus, because he's the best. And I want to send love to New Thought Media Network. And I'm so grateful for the work they're doing in the world and for these listeners. And truly, if you are touched by anything that has been said or anything that they're doing, please check them out. Click on the donate page and just help to keep this work going on, because the love is needed in the world, and that's what New Thought Media is that bridge to love. So thank you everybody for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a very happy and safe 4th of July, those of you that are on this side of the world, and those of you on the other side of the world, keep warm. Keep warm and carry on, and just
Yes.
keep sending out the love to the world, everybody. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you next week.